Hello and welcome to another Win Daily show. My name is Michael Raziel. I got my man Ghost here with me, and we're checking out the Monday 8:31 NBA DFS Slate. Ghost man, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Michael. Yourself?
It's a good day to be alive, brother. You know exactly what I was gonna say there. It's absolutely gorgeous here in New Jersey. It's fun. We're starting. We're in this weird spot where we're starting the second round of the playoffs. NBA, but we also still have some first round games going. So I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts there, but should be a lot of fun. We do have the Milwaukee Bucks, the number one pick, going up against the Miami Heat. A little bit of a darling pick. I don't actually know if people are going to be checking those out too much, but I'm excited to see it. I'm excited. I'm just trying to pull up the odds here for a second. So we have the Bucks favored by 5.5 points. The over under on this game is 224. So it should be a lot of fun. We also have the sixth game of the Houston Rockets, Oklahoma City Thunder. That game, as it has an over under of 226. There we go, 0.5. And the spread on that game is the Rockets favored by 5. So we'll be taking that into account a little bit when we're chatting about these games. It should be a lot of fun. So Ghost, let's just hop right into it. This should be a good one. So we'll just go game by game here. We'll give you a little bit of information, what Ghost is feeling, how he's playing this, and everyone can go lock those lineups because we're only about an hour away at the start of it. So talk to me, man. How are you feeling about this game? I know the last couple showdowns have been a little weird and wonky with the NBA. So tell me, how are you feeling about this Bucks Heat game?
I really like it. Both of these games are very similar to yesterday's game in this games in the sense that you don't necessarily have to fully game stack either the first game or the second in particular. You could get a healthy balance between the two. I mean, obviously, yesterday we were gifted between a couple battles between Kawhi and Luka, and of course Jamal Murray forcing a game seven there for Denver, doing what he's been doing all throughout the
Well,
NBA bubble. That was just unbelievable to watch. If I can, if I can even find a way to describe that. So, both of these games are going to be in a pretty similar fashion in the sense that there's not necessarily one or the other that I prefer. Similar totals. The spreads are virtually identical depending on which book you're looking at. Maybe half a point difference. So, both of them are really attractive, and it's nice to be able to find some different ways to go on a two-game slate.
I love it, man. Yeah, we do have to get weird. If we're trying to take home a bunch of money, you're trying to win 50K, you're trying to win 100K, you got to get a little weird and wonky with it. But I think, just in terms of players that you're really targeting from both of these games, let's just look at that top half of players, right? We have Giannis. That's a pretty easy one. We have Jimmy Butler, who was actually hurt. I don't know if people remember because it feels like it was about 2 weeks ago, but he was hurt. In that game 4 against the Pacers, he did not play much of the fourth quarter. Didn't look like he could dribble with what I think was his left arm. He pretty much just he didn't even pass with it. So it was a little alarming. Obviously, Chris Middleton, if he gets open for 3 and Giannis passes it to him, that's very nice of Giannis at that point, and then bam. So how are you looking at these top 4 or 5 guys specifically on, if you're really trying to either take home that GPP or those cash games, where are you looking to play, especially spend up for someone in this game?
Outside of 150 lineups, if you're max entering these large field tournaments, I don't see a reason not to go 100% Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight. And it's very rare that you'll hear me say go 100% on a player. I'm one of the biggest advocates for hedging your main plays, and the way to do that in NBA DFS is basically hedging your studs in the sense that like if you take a look at yesterday's slate, for example, I had a couple lineups with both Luka and Kawhi, some with just Kawhi, some with just Luka, and very similar fashion to Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray. I had some with both of them together, one with Murray, one with Kawhi, one with Murray, one with Luka, and so on, right? So, but on a slate like this, I will have 100% Giannis. I'm really expecting him to take over this series and get Milwaukee over the hump here. My main concern with Miami is that they might have to change their typical playing style, in the sense that Milwaukee is vulnerable at the 3-point line, but Miami's main core players here and who comes to mind is exactly who's coming to mind for virtually everybody that's watching right now, and that's Jimmy Butler, that's Bam, and you could maybe throw Goran Dragic in the mix there as well. All these guys like to get to the rim, and that could be a slight issue going up against Milwaukee when you have Giannis near the paint. And of course, Brook Lopez doesn't typically get the respect that he deserves for his interior defense and especially his blocking ability around the rim. So I'm looking more so at guys like Tyler Hero to have an important role in a series like this, where they're either going to need to get very hot from deep, or at least make Milwaukee's interior defense kind of think about coming out towards the 3-point line.
Yeah, and another guy on Miami that we saw drain a bunch of threes in that last series against the Pacers, Duncan Robinson. I mean, that dude, it felt like he couldn't miss in a couple of those games. I think there was a game he was 5 of 5 or 6 of 5 or something, like 6 of 5. That's some math, Mike. 5 of 6. But how do you feel about someone like him, even a little bit cheaper than Tyler Hero? I know he doesn't do as many of the things as Tyler Hero does, of course, but I mean, that dude can drain them from three.
Yeah, that's it's a main concern for me right now because I'm underweight compared to the field in terms of what his ownership percentage is coming in at, and that's probably the one guy where I end up scratching my head. I'm like, man, this is the one play on the entire slate. I have virtually all my exposure set concerning lock is in just under 50 minutes here, but man, Duncan Robinson for me on a slate like this, when we're talking about getting different, he would be a guy that I'm prepared to go underweight on, and it's primarily for the reason that you said. Without no disrespect to Duncan Robinson, but the rest of his game is virtually non-existent. He's not a guy that'll pile up rebounds. He's not a guy that's gonna get a bunch of assists. Sitting at 4,900 around that 5K mark, you're going to need him to pretty much score 25 actual points and bang home a couple threes. So for such a one-dimensional player, in the sense that all of his fantasy points come in one wave from that 3-point line, or at least from scoring, he's not really somebody that I'm prepared to be overweight on compared to the field. Whereas Tyler Hero, could pick up a couple of rebounds and assists as well, and he has a really good 3-point shot to not necessarily as good as Duncan Robinson, but pretty high up there. And if you watch Duncan Robinson's game, he's typically the first guy that gets up the court because he loves to run to the corner and kind of nail that three, right? So he's not a guy that'll get rebounds in that aspect of the game. But also, it's not just him; it's virtually every spot up shooter in the NBA. They're called spot up shooters for a reason, and he's not a guy that's going to be a primary ball handler or get assists either. So if you want to take a shot thinking that he goes, 5 for 5, 6 for 6, any of that magnitude deep, I'm all for it. But for me right now, for seeing Tyler Hero, there's $600 more at around the same ownership. I'll gladly take Tyler Hero.
I like that. That's some great analysis by our man Ghost here at DFS_Ghost for everybody on Twitter. So where are we going in this game to grab a little bit of that value? I know Tyler Hero at 5,500 is not massively expensive, but I always know you got some guys in that 4K, that low 3. I mean, are we playing Kelly O again? I mean, we did this once and it worked. Are we doing it again, man?
I mean, again, I wouldn't be a good coworker or a good friend to Brian if I didn't mention him. I know that he mentioned him in his picks and pivots article, which you can find over at with our team at Win Daily Sports. So make sure that you guys are coming to check out both his, Adam, everyone's content on a daily basis. And Brian did bring up a good point in the sense that exactly like what I had just mentioned, where Miami's going to need to get hot from three. Kelly O is the guy that can do that. He can provide that spark from the corner, and he could kind of force Brook Lopez's hand in the sense that, hey, do I kind of leave Giannis alone at the rim and let him kind of handle either Bam or Jay Crowder or anything on his own, or do I stay by the rim and take a chance that Kelly O starts banging threes on us, right? So he's a guy that in your MME and your mass multi-entry, of course, if you want a couple shares of him, I'm all for it. Jay Crowder is the main guy that sticks out to me here. If we're talking under that 5K range. So of course, guys like Tyler Hero, Brook Lopez, and we mentioned Duncan Robinson, all three of them are viable, but on a 2-game slate, you're really going to have to stoop down into some lower values. So I'd rather touch a bit more on that. Jay Crowder is the name that sticks out to me here. And we have a great prop coming from our partner over at Thrive Fantasy that we're going to touch a bit about later in the show. But Jay Crowder is a guy that can pick up assists. He's a strong rebounder. He can score. He's got a 3-point shot. Look for him to have a big role in this series. In a similar fashion, George Hill is somebody that's really caught my eye since this morning. Eric Bledsoe is still questionable leading up to locks. So But even if he does play, George Hill is a guy that sees 20 plus minutes virtually every single game. So sitting at 4,200, the key to tonight's slate is not necessarily looking at stats like fantasy points per minute and all these stuff that the entire industry loves. It's just who's going to get the most amount of minutes and who can do the most with the minutes that they're going to get. Considering George Hill is there at 4,200, a lock for 20 plus minutes, I'm going to be all over George Hill today, because even if he doesn't contribute all that much offensively, considering the amount of playing time that he gets compared to other players in that range, I'm all for it. Matthews, I mean, this was a guy that Brian, Adam, and I were discussing late in our Discord chat over at Win Daily Sports, and again, can Wesley Matthews absolutely blow up your lineup tonight? Yeah. Can he pretty much put up under 10 points and you're there sitting there with a snowflake at the end of the night? Absolutely. But there's no other starters sitting at 37 on the slate that is guaranteed for 20 to 25 minutes. So again, all you need from Wesley Matthews is to hit, even if he gets 2 threes, you're already sitting at 7, 8 DraftKings points. And then, when he picks up an assist, he picks up, next thing you know, he's hitting that 12 to 15 DraftKings point range. And when he's sitting at 5x, at 6x, it's not exactly a bad scenario considering he's that cheap. And the last player that I want to mention is Andre Iguodala. He's a guy that, again, similar to the Jay Crowder, he could rebound, he can assist, and with Kendrick Nunn virtually non-existent in the rotation right now, or at least what it seems like for the Miami Heat, he even picks up some minutes as the primary ball handler. So I'll have a bit of Andre Iguodala as well. That being said, last ownership check, he was coming in at roughly 40+% and trending upwards. So that could be a possible fade in your large field tournaments.
Yes, that is. I mean, I think it's a fun little play. Again, he'll get you a couple steals. He'll do this. He'll do that. I mean, his stat line is going to be very long. I don't think it's going to be very deep, right? I don't think he's scoring 25 points or anything. I don't think he's getting 15 rebounds, but he'll get you 8 points. He'll get you 6 rebounds. He'll get you 2 steals. He'll have 3 assists. I mean, after a while, that really does start to add up, especially at that 3,500 mark. So I'm excited about
Absolutely.
that. So that is a fun little breakdown of this first game. So let us hop over to the other game, which it's been weird, man. This series has been very wacky. I mean, it was very fun, and then it wasn't really fun, and then it got fun again. And then this last game, it was the Houston Rockets decided, hey, we're going to score 40-something points in the first half, and then we're going to score 40-something points in the third quarter, just completely blow the doors off the Thunder, who do not look very good. It was fun for those first 4 games. We'll see which team we get in game 6, but how are you feeling about this game over here? I mean, obviously we have James Harden, Russell Westbrook coming back. We don't know exactly how many minutes he's going to play. I know he didn't play too many this past game. We still have Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Dennis Schroeder. I don't think he's going to be suspended, as neither is PJ Tucker. So how are you looking at this game 6 Monday night, Houston and Oklahoma City?
I mean, if you're looking for a late night hammer, there's no one better than James Harden on this slate, right? So I mean, he's sitting there at 11-3, and Giannis is definitely going to garner more ownership. So if you're building a lineup with a single stud, again, I'm the number one advocate for not going 100% on a player, but tonight I will be going 100% Giannis. But I do have some lineups with both of them, jamming in some value with guys like Andre Iguodala and Wesley Matthews, like what we had touched on before. So if you could end up making a lineup with both Giannis and James Harden, you're setting yourself up for almost, you can argue that they might combine for 150 DraftKings points tonight, right? So, and if you look at the previous slates, a lot of these winning lineups were like that. Yesterday it was Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell, and Kawhi, all guys that combined for nearly $29,000 in salary out of 50, and that was the winning lineup. The night before it was LeBron, CJ McCollum, and I think it was either Anthony Davis or another stud at 11,000, right? So and they were combining for, I think, 28 or 28,500 in salary. So when you look at a lot of these winning lineups, we end up calling it stars and scrubs. And tonight is a great night for that. James Harden is a guy that's probably going to come in under owned versus what he should be on a 2-game slate. So I'm all for it. Russell Westbrook is strictly a GPP play for me, and even that I wouldn't touch him in single entry or 3 max tournaments. It's more so when if you're entering a lot of lineups, or if you're nearly maxing or actually maxing these 150 entry tournaments, then I'm all for it. You never want to have 0% of a player in case he ends up breaking the slate, but he just didn't seem right last game, and he's probably still recovering from a bunch of stuff. So I lean Harden in this one. The issue with me for the OKC trio is that there's no one really taking advantage or kind of soaking up all of the usage. As I'm a big SGA fan, but man, he looked so hesitant last game.
Yeah.
He was passing up open shots that usually he wouldn't even blink twice. He'd be jumping and throwing it up there. Chris Paul didn't look all that aggressive. He was more looking to dish the rock, which is typically what he's done across his entire career. But with SGA passing up shots too, I mean, I was looking left, looking right, and I was like, is anyone going to shoot the ball? And which leads me to Dennis Schroeder. He's the guy that I want out of this trio. Before he got ejected with PJ Tucker, he was on an absolute tear, and he's a guy that I'm expecting to score in bunches. He typically closes out quarters. He'll play all the crunch time minutes, and if OKC wants to keep this one close, he's gonna have to put up a ton of points.
Yeah, it's and SGA, just to comment on him for a second. I mean, not only did he look hesitant on offense, they were just picking on him on defense, which I'm sure does not really help your psyche as a 20-year-old kid. And James Harden is just consistently picking on you, and not only picking on you, and then shoving it down your throat too. And it was unfortunate. I mean, I think Houston's the better team. I want Houston to win because I want the best matchup, which will be Houston against the Lakers. So it'll be nobody over 6'5" versus like 3 7-footers, which will be really, and LeBron James. So it'll be a really fun, weird matchup to watch. So that'll be fun. But how cool would it have been if Houston trades for Russell Westbrook? They give up all these picks to get Chris Paul, and then the Thunder end up beating the Rockets in the first round of the playoffs. That is irony at its finest, where unfortunately then Mike D'Antoni and Daryl Morey lose their job, but it would still be fun to watch. And I think it would still be enjoyable to see, a young team essentially move on like that. So I do agree with that Schroeder pick. He was incredible. I think he had 18 or 19 points, and just by the second quarter, by the time that both of them got thrown out. And then, as I said, the game just totally got out of hand and was just awful after that. So it's unfortunate. So in terms of some value plays, I mean, we saw this man, Dort. I have no idea what his first name is, but gosh darn, that guy got 18 wide open looks from three, couldn't hit a single one. I think he ended up with like 1 or 2 threes, and I think he took 11 or 12 shots. If they're going to, I mean, again, if we're max entering, it's a showdown slate. You have to get weird. If this dude gets that many shots again, it would be hard to miss all of them, right? I mean, what if he knocks down 5 of them? And what is he at? 39, 4,100. I mean, that's something, right? Are you playing any of this Dort guy at all?
I mean, on a slate like this, and anything goes on a 2-game slate, but I might have like maybe 10% Dort, like maybe 1 out of 10 lineups. I might throw him in there just in case, but he's shot 12 for 46 in the past 4 games, including 0 for 9 from 3, and he's missing some wide open looks. They're almost daring him to shoot the ball at this point. And exactly like what you said with you want to talk about SGA's psyche, going 0 for 9 from deep when teams are pretty much taunting you to shoot the 3. That's it's not exactly something that's motivating going into a game like this. So then again, he can make them pay for it, so the volume is there. And similarly to what we were talking about with Wesley Matthews, you get a guy at 3,700, 20, 25, 27 minutes, and he's starting. That was my argument for Wesley Matthews. So I can't go against my word and argue against that for Dort. But seeing a guy there at 4,100 with that much volume, I'm going to be a little bit optimistic here and say go for it in your mass multi-entry lineups and stuff like that. But again, single entry or 3 max, I'm probably not rolling him out there simply because of how bad he's shooting the ball.
Yeah, it was bad. 0 of 9. I thought he ended up hitting a 3, but I guess he never did. That was atrocious. The NBA on TNT crew was roasting him pretty much, and it was bad, man. But again, you get that much volume. As you said, they were daring him. They were literally just like, Russell Westbrook would just look at him and be like, you can shoot from there if you want. And then he would, and he would just brick it. It was terrible. But again, if you get that volume, he hits a couple, all you have to do is see him go through the bottom of the hoop, and it makes you feel a lot better. You could put 3 or 4 of them down. Obviously, the defense would change a little bit, but it still give them the opportunity, which I think is impressive. So what about some other value plays from this game where you think we can, again, we're trying to shove James Harden, we're trying to shove Giannis into the same lineup. It's going to be difficult. So where are you trying to find some value from this game in particular?
So because I'm doing that, the mid-range here is mostly a fade for me. I don't really have anybody other than Schroeder and a little bit of Robert Covington in my lineups. Gallinari hasn't looked himself, and Eric Gordon takes a huge hit with Westbrook back, and both him and James Harden soak up so much usage that I would almost prefer if Eric Gordon came off the bench in a situation like this. But paying 6,100 for a guy that's pretty much like Duncan Robinson at 49, and we made the argument to not go too crazy over Duncan Robinson. Currently I have very little to no Eric Gordon in my lineups. This 5,800 to and lower range is somewhat interesting. Covington is a guy that's going to garner ownership simply because of his last game. And for GPPs, I actually like pivoting to Jeff Green. If you're in a spot where you need a forward or like the actual forward spot on DraftKings, or you need a small forward, power forward, etc., and you're stuck going Robert Covington, that's fine. But if you're looking to round out your roster, or you're filling out a utility, or you're kind of stuck at center because you don't know if you want to play Brook Lopez or PJ Tucker, which I'm going to touch on in a little bit, why not use Jeff Green? He's been a guy that's been extremely consistent. He plays heavy minutes off the bench, is always extremely involved in the offense the moment he sets foot on the floor. So with everybody looking at Covington because he had a single good game, chasing box scores has never led to results in NBA DFS, and it's not about to start today. So if I'm not saying Robert Covington's going to have a bad game. I definitely have some Robert Covington shares, and maybe this is exactly the spark that he needed. But expecting him to produce on offense exactly what he did while Westbrook is not hitting shots, and while Eric Gordon is passing up wide open threes, and you need a lot of things to go right for you in a case like that, especially with this offense with so many touches to go around. So for GPPs, I'd rather pivot to Jeff Green. Daniel House is another guy that's interesting, as well as PJ Tucker. Both are extremely active on the glass, and PJ Tucker's actually been doing more than just standing in the corner and watching his teammates run the offense. So I'm typically a guy that is anti PJ Tucker. I never play PJ Tucker under any circumstances. He could be minimum price, I would still not play him. But on a 2-game slate, anything goes. And with how bad the center position is, and my reluctancy to kind of go overweight on Bam Adebayo, I do have a ton of PJ Tucker in this spot.
I love it, man. And those are some of just the value plays that we can get from this game. Again, it's hard on Houston because James Harden and Russell Westbrook are going to suck up almost all that usage. There's still a couple plays we can take advantage of. It doesn't look like you're on too many people on the OKC side, which honestly, I really can't blame you. Maybe one lineup with Dort in it, but that is
maybe Dort or Beasley. If anything,
maybe.
I would maybe take a chance on Beasley. You never know with how little OKC has been using Steven Adams, or like you can't predict things like a blowout or anything like that, or guys getting injured. If you're making lineups based on that, you're possibly walking onto a landmine. So I would definitely not advise that. But if you're building a lineup based on game theory, for example, you're saying, I don't want to play James Harden because I think they're going to go up 30 into the fourth. Again, if you're making a lineup like that, then why not take a shot on a guy like Beasley? He's extremely active off the bench.
Extremely active off the bench. So there it is. We got a 2-game slate. Miami and Milwaukee starting here in about 35 minutes, it looks like. Yeah. So we'll get you out of here in a couple minutes ago so you can make a couple more lineups. Houston OKC rounding out the night for us at 9:00 at night. So we're very excited about that. So we also are excited. Nope, wrong one. We are also excited to talk about our friends over at Thrive Fantasy. They're a partner here of us at Win Daily Sports, and it is a lot of fun, some of the stuff that they're doing. So we wanted to talk about what they're doing a little bit. So Thrive Fantasy, make sure to go to Thrive Fantasy, download the app, thrivefantasy.com. You can use promo code WINDAILY. You throw in $25 for Thrive Fantasy, they'll match your offer all the way up to $250. So that's a pretty significant amount of time and amount of money. But what we will do here at Win Daily Sports, because we're enjoying their product so much, we'll give you 3 free months of our gold membership. So go over to Thrive Fantasy, plop in $25. They'll give you a matching offer up to $250, and we will give you 3 free months. So that's not that hard. Very easy. Win Daily Sports as the promo code. Make sure you do that, and we'll get you some good stuff. So what they have here, it's pretty cool. It's their prop lobby. They give us a bunch of props. We can pick whatever the heck we want. That way we feel really good about ourselves, thinking we're going to win a bunch of money, right? So we can pick 2, 3, or 4 props. We can take it. I obviously wanted to look at the NBA because these are some of the games that we will be looking at tonight. So talk to me a little bit, man. Let's zoom in so that people can see it. Here we go. So we have a couple props here. And again, we don't have to pick all of them. We just have to pick 2, 3, or 4, and that's how we're going to win some money. So of the ones on the screen, let's start with this Milwaukee-Miami game. We have Gordon Dragic. Do we have any more? Nope. Just Gordon Dragic, 29.5 total rebounds, points, and assists. We have Jay Crowder, a man you were liking a little bit, 16.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Bam Adebayo, 15.5 rebounds and assists. And then we have Giannis at 37.5 total points and assists. Do any of the ones jump off the page of you here so that we can get one of those two locked in for the people at home?
Yeah, for sure. Jay Crowder over 16.5 points, rebounds, and assists for me is something that's very interesting. I mean, even if he does very little on offense, he's pretty much a lock for at least 6 to 10 points and rebounds and assists. He should have absolutely no trouble guarding that he doesn't get into foul trouble. He should have no trouble hitting that 16.5 over.
I love that. Get that 16.5. Again, it's points, rebounds, and assists. That should be, again, you were liking him in the DFS play, so put your money on the line in a couple different places. Any of these others, is that 37.5 from Giannis just a little too high for you, or do you think that's a good number that you don't even want to bet? And how about that Gordon Dragic number? I think those are pretty interesting.
The Dragic one is very interesting to me. I like that you pointed that out. In their previous series versus Indiana, I would say absolutely this is a smash spot for Goran Dragic. I mean, I don't have his exact averages on me right now, but he seemed a lock for pretty much 20 points, and he was passing well and rebounding well. He pretty much had a combined 10 rebounds or assists in a bunch of games. So that would be a smash spot for me. I am going to pivot towards the Giannis pick here, simply because I'm going to take the wait and see approach to see how Goran Dragic kind of handles the Milwaukee defense, in the sense that does he become more of a facilitator, because like what we had talked about, their interior defense is very good. So I'm going to go over 37.5 points and assists for Giannis. He should be able to get at least 5 assists, but even if he gets 0, I think he drops over 37.5 tonight anyways.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think just in points alone, I think he's able to get that. You throw in an extra 4 assists, I think that number gets a lot easier. So let's look over at this Houston OKC game. We have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 24.5 points and assists. We have Chris Paul, 26.5 points and assists. We have James Harden at 47.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Gallo at 19.5 points and assists. And we have Steven Adams at 21.5 points and rebounds. Talk to me a little bit about what you're liking here. I know you're kind of off Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You're kind of off Chris Paul. So let's talk about this James Harden pick, man. 47.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I mean, for someone like him, that's really not that crazy of a number.
I want to give a slight honorable mention to Steven Adams there, because if you look at it this way, it's pretty much like a double-double for him.
Yep.
My concern with that is that OKC hasn't been utilizing him all that much, and his minutes have been slightly lower than I would want. So I'm tempted to go with the Steven Adams pick, but I'm going to say no, and I will take over 47.5 for that James Harden prop. I'm expecting a vintage James Harden performance here, and it's Game 6. He's ready to go to the second round. He's ready to put this one behind him against his old franchise. I think he turns in a vintage performance here and kind of tries to turn the spotlight on himself after what Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Kawhi, and Luka did, and pretty much what Giannis is going to do in the game before him. So I'm expecting a big performance from James Harden here.
I absolutely love that. Speaking of vintage, I think this is the perfect vintage spot for Chris Paul to crumble and not do anything. So if I'm going to give you a pick, I'm going to take the under on that 26.5, because I think they're going to lose. I think it's going to be bad, and I don't think Chris Paul is going to have too much to do with it. So there you go. You have it. You have a couple picks from us over here. Go win some money. You can pick whatever props you want. If you're feeling that Steven Adams one and you agree with Ghost, he's not going to get those minutes, take the under there. You can win some money there. So you pick 2, 3, or 4. Go to thrivefantasy.com or download the app. Use promo code WINDAILY. Put in $25. You get a matching offer up to $250. You also get $90 essentially in value from us for a 3-month free gold access. So Ghost, where can everybody find you on the internet?
At DFS_Ghost over on Twitter, and of course in the Win Daily Discord channel all day long.
All day long. You can find me at Michael Raziel 1 at Win Daily Sports as well. And remember, go hit up our friends at Thrive. Make a couple bucks on Ghost picks and make a couple bucks on not having to pay us. So then you can make more money on the rest of Ghost picks. This is just a wheel of fortune, man. Wheel of fortune. So thank you, everybody. We all hope you make it a very profitable NBA night.